Start with you, Alice. The numbers I said at the beginning, about 70,000 people are behind bars in New York State. How many are coming out on like an annual basis and looking to make their lives all over again?
I think it's a huge problem. Um, Across the country, we have more than 2 million people who are incarcerated, and they're coming in and out all the time. 97% of the people who are incarcerated will eventually come out. And I think the other thing that we have to recognize is that even in New York State, most of the people who are incarcerated are poor people, and they're also people of color, African Americans and Latinos. And we now are experiencing a problem across the country and also in New York State where programs have been cut inside the prisons, and no one is committed to rehabilitating people, so that you're having a lot of people come out, and there are also some collateral consequences when you're incarcerated. When you come out, you'll find that uh, there is a stigma attached, that there are people who will discriminate against you. You will need to have employment, but employers are reluctant to hire you.
Your family may have upped and left. They may be
The family
angry.
could have left,
Yeah.
right? And you cannot vote when you're on parole. You cannot get access to resources like sometimes welfare assistance, housing, education. So there are a whole slew of problems for people who are coming back out, and the community is oftentimes not receptive to having people come back once they've been incarcerated.
That's where you step in, Peter.
Right. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Well, I work for Career Links, and one of the joys of working for an organization like that is that the problems and troubles that come through the doors, and what it is that somebody that has a felony conviction that has a background, the self-esteem is just shot. I can't get a job. Nobody's gonna hire me, and there's limited, like Ms. Green was saying, support services for them. So they need direction most of the time, and it's hard to do it on your own.
But now let me jump in and be the naysayer for a moment, because you've heard this. You know what? You deserve it. You did the crime. Suck it up and figure it out. I don't have to be helping out. You hear this.
Oh, we hear that all the time. And we often think that it only affects that person who's incarcerated. But as we talked about earlier, it affects the entire family. We've not found a way of dealing with that problem of crime. The sense is that if you incarcerate people, they deserve it. That's going to take care of the problem. But we've seen historically that just incarcerating people often makes the situation worse. If people come out different people than they went in, the system does terrible things to people, their families, and to communities.
Yeah. So how do you, now we jump back in, they come out, they didn't have much before,
Right.
they obviously don't have much coming out, and they've got no self-esteem.
Well, this is where the work comes in at. Like, for example, a client comes to me, well, I've been in jail for 15 years. I don't know how to do nothing. Self-esteem shot. So what my job is to build something out of that person. Well, if you've been in jail for that long, I know you wasn't laying down all the time. What have you done while you was in there? And come to find out, they have experience, but they don't know how to use the proper tools because they only know but what the
Hmm.
things that was given to them. Like, you're no good, you're this, you're that, and it was all negative. But let one person say something positive about an individual that come from a background, it's uplifting. And I see that every day dealing with people from probation, people that are on parole, and it's a joy to me personally to find out that somebody turned their life around and they got a chance.
What's your placement?
Um, Placement, let me see. We're at right now, I would say about 75% on placement on the youth division. Now, I primarily work with the youth division. With the clients that I have now, I think um, I'm working on maybe two more and 2 or 3 more, and we're good, either on an internship or a job.
But now how do you get
Yeah, it's
there?
a huge problem. You talked before about how many people are incarcerated, but 600,000 people come out every year in this country from prisons, and in New York State, in our capital district area, actually, we should look at that. There's something like 1,100 people who will come back out and go into the prison the next year.
Why should we care that they integrate back into the community, Alice?
Well, if you have someone out who's coming out who's not been prepared to work in a community, um, they have needs, and you could be losing a lot of resources by not employing people who are coming back into the community. They have all kinds of health needs. If we don't take care of them, I mean, if you're sick, it just doesn't affect the person who's ill. If you're not working, somebody else is going to have to support. You need people who are paying taxes. You have a lot of other needs in terms of taking care of families. So it affects not only the individual, the family, but also the community. Because the community needs to be safe, and if we're not doing what we need to do to make the public safe, and communities are safe when people are employed, if they are connected to the community.
So let me ask, how do you make a match between someone who's on parole or on probation with an employer who might look at you and go, Peter, you're a nice guy, but I don't want one of those ex-cons working in my business?
Well, me, once again, I'm determined and I'm really confident when I speak. And one of the things that we push for is that a person deserves a second chance. And depending on the nature of a crime, we investigate a little bit. We build a rapport with that client before we say this person is ready to go out for a job, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But some situations, they just actually make mistakes. And, they do deserve a second chance.
And most of the people did not commit a crime while they're employed.
Right,
uh,
right.
and there are tax credits that employers can get. Um, there are often good workers out there who are not allowed to work simply because they have a conviction record. Oftentimes we think that people who are incarcerated are predators, violent people, and most of them are not. Most of the people who go into the system each year are people who've had difficulties with sometimes drugs or alcohol, and they're in treatment and can do jobs. And so it really helps the community when we can have everyone employed and being constructive in that particular community, voting,
When you
participating.
help someone who comes out of prison become employed, rebuild themselves, what are we've got people, we got studies. What do the studies show? Do they show that these folks tend to stay in the mainstream community after that and don't find their way back into prison?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
Employment.
employment changes a person. Like, I have an individual that just actually came to me. I know he's doing negative, and he's just saying, listen, if I had a job, I just wouldn't do this, and I sometimes feel like, okay, this person deserves a chance. Let me see what I can do. Needless to say, this person takes pride in his job now. This person has an ID. He feels good about himself. He earns a paycheck. And this is an individual that came from that lifestyle, selling, using, in and out of jail. And this is what changes their lives around.
And having that contact with families. I think all the studies have shown that people who maintain contact with their families while they're incarcerated and when they come back out are much more likely to be successful in the community.
So that makes Allison Coleman's project about prison families that much more
Absolutely.
important to keep them intact to then support their loved ones who are behind bars.
Right.
You got a new book out.
Yes,
Booklet.
recently a booklet, yes, we did On Your Own, which is a resource that we hope people who are coming back out in the community will be able to use. We published this in connection with the Albany Public Library, and it has a list of resources in our community that people can use for to get housing, employment, counseling, treatment.
What's the first door they have to open when they come out?
Well, people need housing, and that's a major problem.
Mm-hmm.
They need employment. Many of them will need counseling and medical care. All of those things are very, very important, and our communities need to be sensitive to the fact that that they do have these needs, and it's to their best interest to make sure that people coming out get those needs satisfied.
I want to get your phone number up on the screen if anybody wants more information about the Center for Law and Justice, 427-8361, and if you go to our website, we've linked to their sites as well. And Peter, what do we need to do to help you be more successful with those who are coming out of prison?
Well, like Ms. Green was saying, communities, communities to understand, this community needs to understand that we need to find a solution to the problem. That, be a little bit more. Is
it about dollars and cents? Is it about throwing money at it?
No. I personally I personally feel like what I do now, what makes me feel good is knowing that I'm helping somebody else. If the community felt that way a little bit, a little bit more rather, then that will open up more doors for other people. And we mean as a whole, and support other support systems to connect together and start trying to clean the streets up and finding support services for them. And this is what I think makes a difference. So it's not a tradition, a trend.
You break the
Yeah.
cycle.
I
Yeah.
just want to say also that we're planning, hopefully, to have a job fair in the community directed towards employers and people who have been formerly incarcerated. We need to make the, connection between the
You'll
two.
let us know.
Yes, and hope that employers will hire people. Who come
Alice Green, the Director for Law and Center for Law and Justice, and Peter Jones, Case Manager and Employment Counselor with Career Links. Thanks an awful lot. Maybe you opened a door, too, this morning.
Hopefully. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. That's it for
Thank
us. Hope you have a great week ahead. See you on the next one. Take care.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Fox 23 in Focus. You know, there's no doubt that our prison system is absolutely not designed with a sense of comfort or privacy, and actually, or even humanity. And statistically, by the way, men have a much higher chance of going to prison than women, and blacks and Hispanics have a higher chance than whites. Well, joining us next, the Executive Director of the Center for Law and Justice, Dr. Alice Green, joins us. Dr. Green, always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And I can think of few people who have more passion about what they do than you, or more commitment, or have been recognized more than you. So I'm really glad you came down to talk with us today.
Thank you.
The first thing I want to start with, Dr. Green, is that, we just saw this video and the correctional officers speaking about their efforts to try to prevent young people from winding up in the prison system. It seems to me that that is such an inherently flawed place for anybody to be, is it not?
It certainly is. I would first of all say that I'm very much concerned about public safety, and I think that whatever we do in the criminal justice system, it should be geared towards making sure that the public is safe. However, what happens in our prison system is that we focus on punishment. The court gives out a sentence, a prison sentence, and the loss of liberty is that sentence. But once you put someone into prison, punishment becomes the motive for the actions of most people in the system. I'm talking about the correctional staff. It's stated in the Department of Correctional Services that the mission and the purpose of prisons is to, there are three important ones. One is to make sure that those who are sent to prison are safe, and they're supposed to be safe until they're released legally. The other thing is that the prison should be about making sure that people gain opportunities to become more employable. It says that right.
Mm-hmm.
It says that right in the mission statement. And the other thing is to create a safe and nurturing environment, one that is humane, and it uses that word in the mission statement, humane. However,
Alice, the however is probably going to be, I know, because those are very topics about which we could speak for probably 7,700 minutes each, because the system is not working. And the recidivism rate, I mentioned this briefly in the other segment, but we didn't get into that. This system is completely flawed. It's just the likelihood of somebody in that system reoffending is so great, is it not?
right, because the focus is on punishing and not rehabilitating. And I think that's the crux of the problem. Because once people are put into the system finds ways to be more punitive. We look at the cells in which they're held. These cells are inhumane. They're sort of big enough for one person, but oftentimes they put two people in them.
Right.
We warehouse people. We do not treat them for the conditions that they come in with. A lot of the people who go into prison are there because of involvement in drugs.
Mm-hmm.
They're not all predators. They're not people who are looking to kill people all the time or sexually abuse them. But I think in the tape it sort of suggests that they're animals. So therefore, they get treated that way. We look at the impact that it has on families, and families are supposed to be one of the most rehabilitative tools that we could have. So you need to maintain a contact with families, but the system discourages that. The brutality that takes place in prisons on the part of correctional officers is also dehumanizing. So there are a lot of things that take place inside the prison that certainly did not help in terms of rehabilitating. So therefore, the recidivism rate is extremely high.
It's extremely high, and certainly out of respect to the voice of the correctional officers, which I can still hear in my head, but managing some of the people who are incarcerated is a very difficult proposition.
Oh, sure, very definitely. I think correctional officers have a very difficult job.
Absolutely.
And it oftentimes affects them in very negative ways, the same way it does prisoners. So I'm concerned about them as well. But when you run a system that is so hostile and so dehumanizing, I think everyone loses. So it's a system that, as I said, the recidivism rate is something like 66%, which means that we turn